In a world that can be challenging, and at times unpredictable, it's hard to find moments to focus on what you need. Join Stephanie James on The Spark as she guides you to use your inner flame to ignite your best life. As a best-selling author, psychotherapist, transformational life coach, and international show host, Stephanie is dedicated to helping you create a life that takes you, your goals, and your passions to the next level, so you can live a life that is fully lit up and fully alive. She believes that your life is meant to be a beautiful expression of the things that light you up. That by living your dreams, you give permission to others to do the same. Are you ready to feel alive and inspired to fuel your dreams and put a fire behind your desires? Let's ignite a spark in one another that will illuminate the world. The Spark, with your host Stephanie James, starts now.
Welcome to The Spark. I'm your host, Stephanie James. So wonderful to have you with us here tonight. I'm here with my very special guest, Stan Tatkin. And Stan is a PsyD. And is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the end. And clinician, researcher, and teacher. He is the founder of the Pact Institute.
Right.
So Stan, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. So I'm always so excited. You know, I've read all of your books, Wired for Dating, Wired for Love, We Do, and recommend them to my clients all the time. Because it feels like it's this great progression as the books go through. And to begin with, Stan, for those people that don't know what PACT stands for, could you help the audience understand? Yeah. Sure. What is PACT about? What does PACT stand for?
It stands for a psychobiological approach to couple therapy. And what that means is psychobiology is basically a developmental model that studies infant brain development throughout the lifespan. So human lifespan, brain development, and studies the brain and the body. So, why we do what we do, what that means in terms of our development and our developmental trajectories. And we track people through their bodies, through their facial expressions, through their vocal expressions, through their movements, and so on. And then words and phrases, but that's secondary. Yeah.
Well, and so as we're, I know that one of the things when you talk about this is that our brain has this natural negativity bias where we're always scanning the environment for a threat. How does that show up in relationships?
We're born with a negativity bias because of survival. So we have to pay attention to things, events, places that hurt us so that we can be more cautious. And that is absolutely, a part of relationships. We're scanning for threatening faces, voices, movements, gestures, postures, and then threatening words and phrases. And that's what we do. Now, because we're memory animals, everything is based on memory. So we come with our threat equipment and we become aware of loud sounds and baring teeth and animals that seem predatory and so on. Even babies know a predatory animal. And so but then we expand our repertoire, so to speak, of threat cues in the environment with memory through our family of origin, through our teachers, friends at school, and then, of course, our partners and so on. And by the time we get into a relationship, we could have quite a repertoire here of things that we could respond to. Why did you give me that face? Why did you say that? What do you mean by that look? Why do you talk this way? And so on. And so that's the negativity bias in the memory system. The other important part is that we fill in blanks all the time. So the brain will fill in a blank if you don't say something, or you're signaling right now. If people can see you, you're nodding your head and your eyes are registering that you listen and you're hearing what I'm saying. That's called signal. And then I'm responding and I'm signaling and you're responding, right? That's the signal response system in the human attachment system. if you were to stop signaling, and if I were to just keep my face still, and I wouldn't nod my head, I didn't give you any signal, you would start to fill in the blank. And since you have a negativity bias, as do I, you would start to imagine the very worst, that I am judging you, that I am maybe not here, I'm not listening, that I don't like you, I don't agree with what you're saying. You will fill it in with the most negative idea that you have, because the brain always fills in blanks. And so that's a problem for people who don't signal very well.
Yes. Yeah. And so is there a way out of this? Is there a way out of this hard wiring, Stan, where then we can learn to change either maybe the way we're signaling or to become more responsive to our partners? How do we become more attuned to that?
Well, if somebody is a low signaler, they're that way because they probably come from a family of origin where response was either muted, and as a baby, I stopped signaling for proximity, right? I stopped signaling for anything. What's the point? There's no response. Or I had poor signalers also, and they didn't express very much in the face. And so I just do as they do, and they did. Or I was traumatized and I learned to halt my signaling as a way to protect myself. So I would learn by nodding my head and going, yes, right. Oh, you're right. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry. You're right. I would do things that would signal to relieve you, that would show you that I'm a friendly. I'm with you. I'm not against you, right? And that would be smart and that would be wise. Or if you're with a partner that's a low signaler, you could say, with their permission, previous permission and agreement, you need to give me more signal. You need to nod your head or just let me know that you're here because I'm imagining terrible things right now. I don't think that's a good idea for you. So you probably want to signal right now. Okay. And that person would start, oh, sorry. Yeah. Or go into their face with a big smile. To get their face to respond as a friendly face. That's another way of changing your partner's face. So there's all sorts of ways to train each other to do things that you weren't trained to do as children.
Yeah. I love that. I love the smiling thing too in their face, because isn't there a part of us too? A part of our brain has mirror neurons.
That's right. Those are motor neurons. Yeah.
Okay. So
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so that like when someone is smiling at us, there's a part of us that just goes, oh, we're going to smile too.
Right. So mirror neurons were discovered in an area where sensory neurons would be found, and so these are single cell neurons that respond to what we see, that we mimic. That hence mirror neurons. So in the primate world, that was usually meant to be anything that was a primate. A primate's arm, leg, whatever, another primate would mirror that movement. Okay. So limbs. And then it went on to, again, interspecies, right? And it would be, human beings mirroring other human beings. But we do this to an extent that even now that I'm talking to you, if we were in face to face, but probably even now, your tongue, as I'm talking, slightly moves inside your mouth to mirror what I'm saying as a way of taking me in, right? And so there are actually some people, it's very interesting, that will move their lips when their partner is talking. And that's sort of a motor expression of what they're doing internally, except their mouths tend to mimic, but that's an empathic, a kind of quasi-empathic attunement mechanism. Just like if you and I were at a dinner table and we couldn't see our legs, our legs might be swinging at the same speed. Now, how do we do that? Because motor neurons really require, visual, right? Some kind of visual awareness. But the empathic system is far more complex than motor neurons. And that is part of the empathic system. You and I getting along and our legs are moving at the same speed and we're shifting. We call that matching when we study couples, matching. They move at the same time, they scratch at the same time, or they'll bookend, I'll go like this and then you'll go like that. It's quite amazing to watch. Yeah. My wife and I would go couple watching, which could be kind of strange. with our binoculars, but we'd actually go watch couples, in cafes or our special train station in Spain, Valencia, where the couples are always saying goodbye and saying hello, and we would just love watching them. Yeah.
Yeah, how wonderful. What a great place to do research, right? I mean,
train stations are in airports. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And it was so funny when you said, your tongue's probably moving.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I've never noticed that. What a great thing to attune to.
So when we look at couples and have them look at each other eye to eye, face to face, and have them hold it, one partner inevitably breaks and smiles or laughs, and we expect the other partner to match. And when they don't, then we take note of that. Now, why wouldn't somebody match? It's an autonomic process. Well, either they are trying to keep a straight face and misunderstand the exercise, or they are competing with the same thing, trying to hold, or they don't like their partner. That's another possible, or they're dissociative. They're not there, or they're meditating. But either way, that's not supposed to happen. When we smile, we tend to smile back at each other.
Yes. Well, yeah. And so this, this conversation has reminded me of those little signals, the smile, the nod, those help us to feel secure with our partners. Yes. And, I think that's such a huge thing in our world today, where we know there's a lot of chaos and things can really feel not safe outside of us. So, yes. So the, even greater importance of having this secure bond and secure attachment within our relationships. And so when you talk about secure functioning, yes, in relationships, what is that and what does that look like?
So secure, when I say like a secure attachment, that refers to attachment theory, which has to do with where we would place somebody based on observation or self-report, or through a dialectic mechanism called an interview, attachment interview. How we deem somebody is on the attachment spectrum from secure to insecure. Secure functioning has not to do with secure attachment directly. It is a set of behaviors that amount to full collaboration, full cooperation, shared power, shared authority between two individuals who are coming together based on terms, based on conditions that suit both of them. And it's a deal or no deal kind of situation. It's not love. This is how we're going to set up shop. This is what we're going to do. That's going to always remain fair, just, and mutually sensitive. So say we both. Secure functioning is that system. Anything falling out of those behaviors we would call insecure functioning. And that we know leads to marital or couple dissatisfaction and eventual dissolution.
Well, and so it was interesting that you just said, Stan, love aside.
Love, yes, aside, definitely aside.
Tell me more about that.
Well, love is a very difficult thing for people to define because everyone has their own ideas, just like religion. People have their different ideas of how faithful they are, what they believe in, how they believe, and so on, the depth of their understanding of their faith. Well, the same thing with love. It's ephemeral. It's something that is very personal. And love is an emotion. Emotions and thoughts are not reliable. They come and go. They're not controllable by will alone. Therefore, they're not a good system of governance. If you and I were getting together in a union, a team, or an alliance, we'd have to leave emotion aside and build our agreements based on purpose. What is our purpose? What is our mission? What is our vision? Do we share in that purpose? Our purpose is to survive. Well, we share in that. So therefore, if our central purpose is to ensure each other's survival, then it goes to follow that we're going to have other principles that ensure our survival. That's our shared purpose. We both have the same things to lose, same things to gain. Loving each other has nothing to do with it. Right? Now, we may fall in love with each other because we end up doing things for each other that are quite special because we're preserving each other's life. But then let's go further. We want to prosper together. And so now we're doing even more for each other because we're both going to gain the things we both want. And if we both don't want them, then we have nothing to share. Therefore, we have to find where we can share. And everybody can when they look for it, not where we disagree, but where we do agree, not where we're different, but where we are the same, then people can find ways that they can profit together. And that is going to set a set of purposes and direct behavior in a way that probably encourages earned love, earned respect, earned admiration, earned safety and security. So love is not enough because love is a feeling that comes and goes. Purpose is the only thing to live by. It's the only thing that guarantees anything that you want or keeps you from getting what you never want, is agreed upon purpose. And now we're equal shareholders and we're less likely to violate each other's rights because that's self-harming. If I do something to violate your rights, I'm basically saying you can do that to me. And so let's not do that. So here we have an equal shared couple partnership with an imaginary relationship in their heads that they actually agree on, because relationships are an abstraction. It's something in our heads. So you and I have to agree on what that picture is so that we can work together collaboratively and cooperatively, and we're less likely to go to war, rob or steal each other or do bad things.
That I love that. That is absolutely brilliant. Because I think we still.
I wish I invented it, but I think it was invented by civilization ages ago.
Yeah, but you've presented it in a way that I think is so phenomenal, because we still live in a culture that absolutely romanticizes relationships, and that says the ultimate goal is love.
I know. That comes from the Romantic period. Romantic period supplanted the church, God. Romantic love was God. We would die for each other. That's Romeo and Juliet. And that's lovely and everything. However, they were 15. And then let's check in again. If they didn't kill themselves at 30, they may not be so happy. If it was just romantic love, they probably at 40, they'd probably revisit their families of origin and probably want to go back to their roots and everything, developmentally, if they lived that long. But the point is that love is nature's way of hooking us up. The attachment system, this is important for your audience to know. The attachment system is a biological mandate that we cannot quit each other. Now, it's a glue, and it's a very powerful glue that's primitive and goes all the way back to infancy, that if mommy or daddy dies, I die. And therefore, I cannot lose you. I cannot quit you, even if you're the worst person on the earth for me. And that's a problem, because I will call it love, and it isn't. It feels like love, but it isn't. It's actually an existential threat to one's survival. And I may not think of that logically, but if you do think of it and what it feels like in your gut, and it feels like I'm going to die, and it feels like my life won't continue, now you got it. It is a gut punch. It is an existential abandonment issue. And so that's why people confuse it with love. I can't quit you because I love you. Hogwash. I can't quit you because I don't have any principles to live by. I live by avoiding loss at all costs. And that's where we get into trouble. I can't quit you because I can't tolerate the loss. Therefore, I am now without any leverage Anything you say goes. All I can do is yell and scream and threaten you, but that is weak and that won't work. My only leverage in an adult relationship that is based on terms and conditions is you can't do that. I can't do that. I'll prove it to you. I won't be here. This is the deal or no deal thing, and it's always there. Has to be there, or otherwise people are basically rendering themselves helpless, which is a dangerous thing. Helpless people are aggressive, and putting themselves in a position where they cannot bargain and negotiate any longer because the other person knows they can't leave. So that's a terrible situation for people, but that's, thank nature for that. So love is nature's way of getting us to continue the species. Full stop.
Yeah.
That's it. Nature doesn't care about relationships. We do.
Well, and what a great note to take a break really quickly and just, yes, that we have to care about our relationships.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we're going to be talking with Stan Tatkin more about how do we continue to create healthy relationships? How do we keep bridging the gap between us so that we can have healthy relationships and flourish? So all this and much more when we return here on The Spark. Stay with us. So we're here talking with Stan Tatkin from the Pact Institute, and so thrilled to have you here, Stan. And,
Thank you.
So here's the interesting thing is you're talking about, so people, when they get into relationship, one of the things that you're talking about making this pact together, if you will, is how do we then, do we come up with like, these are our bottom lines, this is what I need in relationship, or what does that look like? That kind of coming together where we're having joint power and saying, yeah, we're going to find this joint purpose together so we can be in this equally and have equal commitment.
The natural way is the way that everybody unionizes. Everyone unionizes according to shared interests. That's what a union is. So we're unionizing based on a shared interest, a shared purpose. We all want this thing. We all want to avoid that thing. And so our visions are aligned, and that's how we get people on board to do things together. And once that vision falls apart or the purpose is fragmented, people fall off. The same thing with a couple. You and I have to find a reason for being. And it can't be just because we love each other, we're hot for each other, we both want kids. It's got to be much more thoughtful than that, because we've got to plan for the rough times ahead. We have to plan for what could possibly go wrong. And since we're human beings, it would be naive to think that because we love each other, we would do the right thing. Well, human beings are not known for doing the right thing, especially when it's the hardest thing to do. So we have to build that in. What is going to be the right thing for us to do in this or that circumstance, even though it will be the hardest thing to do? And why would we do that? Why would we do that? Why, Stephanie, do you want to be monogamous? And then you would ask me, why do I want to be monogamous? If I can't answer that sufficiently, having a personal reason for being monogamous, do you think that's going to hold when I don't like you, when I'm sick of you, when I'm tired of the marriage, when I want to get out, when I'm attracted to some shiny object? No, you need to know that I have a personal need to be monogamous, and it has nothing to do with you, other than you have to agree as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, right? So that's the last part, is both of us have to want the same thing. So the way you vet agreements, whether it is we have each other's backs at all time, why should we have each other's backs? Why is that a good idea? Or we're fully transparent with each other, no exceptions. We tell each other everything. The right and left hand knows everything. Why would we do that? What's in it for me? Why should I do that? Now, I can't reliably say I'm doing it because you want that. watch out. That's not a good agreement, because that's not a reason to stick to something that we decide is the right thing to do. I have to believe it is myself. Well, I might say, I wouldn't want you lying to me. That's still not sufficient. That's okay, but that's still not sufficient. That's fear of punishment, or fear of retaliation, or fear of that same thing happened to me, do unto others, right? It's still not deep enough. But if I say, I don't want to be that person, I want to be free to be myself. I don't want to hide. I'm not a little boy. I don't need to hide from you. You're my point person. I chose you. Therefore, I put all my money on you. I'm going to tell you everything because I'm going to save money on a therapist. You're my confidant. You know what? And that's what I expect. That's why I'm in this thing. One of the reasons I hope you are the same. Now, that's a solid reason. And now I'll tell you when I'm doing something stupid, even though it's humiliating, because that's the greater good. So when forging agreements in a sense of purpose, think it through. Do we both really want this? Do we want to do we want to feel loved, appreciated, admired, wanted, chosen every day? Yes, we both say. Okay, let's put in a principle. We're going to do loving, admiring, appreciating, romantic things for each other every day, throughout each day. We're going to do that throughout each day. Now, you want it differently than I do. That can be arranged. It's to order, right? DoorDash affection, as you wish. I'm going to do that. And you're going to do that with me. Do we do it when we're mad at each other? The answer has to be yes, because it's purpose-centered, not feeling-centered. Do we do it when we hate each other? Yes. Do we do it if our stomach is aching and we're sick with the flu? Yes. Do we do it just after we fought and broke up? Yes. And in all cases, it gets done because that's what we decided is the best thing to do, even if it's the hardest. That's awesome. If two people can work that way, that is as adult as you can be. And that actually makes sure that things actually happen. It's the same as ritual. We do rituals because we're lazy, energy conserved animals, and we won't do anything that's good for us unless we ritualize it, right? So you and I put rituals. We embrace each other every time we reunite. We do a formal goodbye every time we separate. That's better than a poke in the eye. Why not do that? That changes the whole atmosphere. We put each other to bed at night. We close the day. We wake up and we send each other off in the day. We ritualize it. Why not? It makes our days better. So this is a purpose-centered relationship that's forged by intention and by what we really want. You and I are co-creating the culture we want, not the one we grew up in.
Yeah. So, and I love this part that you're talking about being totally authentic with one another, that you know, telling everything. And so it actually is a question I'd written down for later, but it really is perfect timing for, you know, a lot of times I'll have couples in my office and their question is, well, you know, is there something wrong if one of us is attracted to someone else, and do we tell the other person about it?
Hey, you know what? I found that person really, really attractive. You're my person. I love you to death. But yeah, what about you? Did you find them attractive? If we can't talk about things like that, now I have to ensure your safety and security at all times. That's part of the charter, right? That's part of my gig, my job. So I can't just throw things around that are going to scare you. I've got to ensure that you feel safe and secure at all times. So if that understanding, we should be able to say anything, because there's respect there, and there's a formality to it. Right?
And what is the danger in keeping something like that a secret? Like, oh, I find this person attractive, but I'm going to keep it to myself because I don't want to upset my partner.
That's a slippery slope, because now I'm the gatekeeper of what the other partner should know. And if I'm the gatekeeper, what's to keep me from saying other things I don't want them to know because it'll upset them? So now I've destroyed the whole principle of transparency, because now I'm the decider of what gets out and what doesn't. That's one problem. The other is that what I don't talk about, I'm going to behave. And so the behavior is going to come out in some way that's going to be threatening. And again, the mind hates anything that's blank. It's going to fill it in with the worst possible, imagination. And so my wandering eyes are definitely going to be noticed, and my denial is definitely going to be felt as distrusting. So, again, the reason we say things is so that we don't let our partner's minds go wild with their imagination. I'm just moving my glass over here. I'm still listening to you is a formality of a micro communication. So you don't have to wonder why I just shifted my head and just moved and didn't look at you. I don't want you to fill in the blank. So I'm just telling you. By the way, you caught me thinking about something. I wasn't thinking about you at that moment. My eyebrows were furrowed and so on. I'm taking responsibility for what my face is doing so that you don't have to.
So great. Yes. So that we're actually, this is so helpful. It reminds me of Brene Brown's SFD, the shitty first draft, where she talks about this exact same thing, that mechanism in our mind, which will fill in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's the brain. That's the brain at its natural best. Our brain does a lot of things. Everything our brain does has a feature set to it and has a buggy set to it. For instance, our filling in the blank with something negative is helping us to survive and to anticipate threat. But it's terrible when we're dealing with someone who's a minimalist in their communication, right? Or we're dealing with a shy person. We're going to project all over them. Our tendency to compare and contrast this to that out in the wild is important for picking foods and for picking where we're going to live or where we're going to set up camp. It's terrible for, everybody has Teslas and I don't. I'm disappointed. We have minds that are always aware of what's missing and what we don't have. Very good for hunting and gathering, terrible for life. I miss what I had when I was 20. I miss my hair. I don't have that same feeling with you as I did, 10 years ago. And so all these brain functions, features and bugs. And in relationship, we really notice the bugs.
Well, and I remember from one of your books, I read your books and I listened to some of them on Audible as well. And one of them, I remember this always stood out to me, Stan, this couple that's in this car and they're getting ready to go into a party together.
Yeah.
And the man doesn't know people.
Right.
The woman does. And she knows she's going to be taking him in amongst work people and he won't be familiar. And she turns to him and says, basically, this is a horrible paraphrase, Stan, but basically saying, I've got you. Right. And I'm not going to leave you. You're my husband. I want you there by my side. And to me, that was such a beautiful example of what you're talking about. What you're speaking of is like, we're secure together.
Right. Yes. That sounds like Tracy and I, Tracy and me rather. So, I tell people, I give them this acronym, or anagram, PEPPER, predict, plan, prepare, and be ready to redo your plan or repair with each other. So we predict everything before we go into a situation. We predict what could, possibly go wrong. First, we think about how we protect us and make sure we have the best time possible. And then we take all the players that are there and we think about what if this happens, what do we do? What do we do if this happens? We do this with children. We do this with plans, vacations, everything. So that we're thinking of all the outcomes to protect our time. And, that's another principle of secure functioning is that the couple relationship must come first above all other people and things. That relationship being at the head of the the sort of the top of the food chain, the roof of the house, has to preserve itself in order for all other things to run well and to be taken care of. So that's a matter of, just before walking into the party, how do we want to play this? Okay, this time, stick by my side. At this time, if you see me talking to this difficult person, just, come and give me an excuse to get out of there. When one of us wants to leave, the other person won't argue. We do this ahead of time, just before walking in, so we don't leave it to long-term memory chance, because we're forgetful animals. And then we get along. Everything works well, and we get the time that we had planned for. No fighting, taking good care of each other, and we work as a team.
Well, and how long have you and Tracy been together? You've been together a long time, and you still have this plan.
We've been together 20 years now, but we've known each other since seventh grade science. So we've known each other in junior high and high school, but we weren't traveling in the same packs. We were in separate packs, but yeah, we've known each other a long time. But we got together in our 40s.
And when you got together, though, you started practicing this, where before you go in, you talk about it, and this pattern still continues.
Oh, this pattern is far tighter than it ever was.
Wow.
Far tighter. Yeah. And I can say, I'm more in love with Tracy today than I've ever been, because of what we do, not because of a feeling that's pervasive. Feelings are the tail that's wagged by behavior. And so, it's what we do that changes our feelings, not our feelings. It's not the other way around.
Well, and thank you for saying that. And I have been one of those people too, that I believe in my heart, if we're conscious and intentional and we do the work, that we can truly grow in love. It's not something that fades. It's not just the emotion that fades.
No.
Yeah, there's something much deeper that's created. So one of the things I remember from your TED Talk is, I don't want to give away your opening line, but I have to, because there's this whole thing about relationships being difficult. Because I do think still, once again, we have this Hollywood image of relationships, that they're supposed to be easy, that you're not supposed to fight. And, I know from my own childhood, my parents never fought in front of us, ever.
So you didn't get to see how they made up.
No, we didn't. And so we didn't see that fighting was okay too, and that you can make up and you have a healthy relationship. And the first time we saw them fight was when my dad was leaving my mom, when he was divorcing her. So, it took a long time to learn, oh my gosh, if I'm fighting with my partner, it doesn't mean that it's over.
How old were you when that happened?
13.
13. That's tough. That's tough. Teenage, 13, 14, 15 for girls, boys is the toughest to lose, the family, but to lose a parent in particular is devastating. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And so the result from that, though, and I've witnessed it and grown in my own life around how to deal with that. And so I guess I'm curious, how do we do that? How do we argue? How do we have conflict and know that that's okay? And that part of having a relationship is that it's going to be difficult, and that there's times your partner will drive you crazy, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't be in that relationship.
Well, I said from the very beginning that there's nothing more difficult on the planet than another person, and that all people are annoying, all people are a pain in the ass, all people are irritating and burdensome up close, right? There is no easy person up close over time. So we're all difficult, and that's just the way it is. That's normal. There's nothing to be done about that. You can't change one person out because they're difficult. The other person is going to be difficult in some way. So we're just that way. What we can do is find ways to, like I said, to work together collaboratively and cooperatively, and know how to work through stress. The problem is always going to be stress. You and I will do well as long as neither of us are under any stress. As soon as we do feel any stress or distress, that's when the threat system starts to ignite, and that's when we start to act non-collaboratively. So as soon as I talk to you in a stressful situation or in an area of importance, matter of importance, I talk to you and give you the idea that I care only about my interests. That sends a signal to you that you better do the same. And immediately we become adversarial, we start to congeal, and we will get nothing done. That's always going to be the case. As soon as we start talking non-collaboratively, we will start to feel threatened, and we will start to do things to protect our interests, and we will get nothing accomplished. We will get nothing done except to feel more threatened and frustrated. That's every human on the planet. It has nothing to do with a him or a her, has nothing to do with history, has nothing to do with your cultural background, where you're from. If you're a human primate, all human primates will do this. So it's a matter of learning how to work with someone under stressful conditions, which is daily life. If you and I can talk under stressful conditions while maintaining this formula, I have to take care of you and me at the same time, at all times, we will get through anything quickly, and we will actually get to something that works for both of us. Win-win. It has to be win-win. There cannot be win-lose. That's lose-lose. Anything, if I win over you, I will lose because paybacks are hell. So I will definitely not benefit from that. So in this, it's a win-win situation, which means I have to consider your interests at the same time I'm considering mine, or watch out, we go to war. And so this is a learning that people go to school to learn, to be negotiators. They learn, to do trained in politics or trained in being ambassadors, or just they learn this in their childhood of how to broker deals with people who don't get along. This is a skill set, a social emotional skill set that comes from the knowledge that together we move, together we don't move. It's like a three-legged race. If we banded our legs together, you and I, for a month, we would know exactly what this means. We couldn't do anything without moving together. Couples don't often do that. When they're under stress, they don't move together. So this is a must, or we walk away with nothing. It'll always be that way. That's a hard thing to learn, to think collaboratively when I want to wring your neck, when I want to grab what's mine, when I want to cut and run, when I want to attack. All of those things are natural human impulses, but they're not pro-social. They're not pro-relationship. So we're thinking here of a team. A team has to move together or it will not meet its goal of winning. A troop will not survive unless everybody's working together to have each other's backs and to work cooperatively. You just go down the line with any group that's interdependent, the same rules follow. People have to work together or the entire group will not meet its purpose. Now we have two people in a union that must be upheld. The union becomes more important than a people. Therefore, we're the only two pillars holding up this union. If one of us fails, we both fail. And so that's the game. The game is we protect the union at all costs. The union's more important than being right at this moment. And I have to take care of you at the same time I take care of myself, or I will not be able to influence you at all.
And so, Stan, for this, and we're just about to take a break, for this, is it you have to kind of adapt the mindset first, and then you continue to practice the behaviors? You have to, it's all practice. It's all practice. Obviously, because the human primate off the factory line is not that great.
We're basically automatic creatures that will do exactly what we know and what we've experienced. We'll never get any further than that, and we'll live the lives we were programmed to live, and that'll probably end up in something less than happy. We're aggressive. We're warlike, selfish, self-centered creatures. Across the board, it's wired in. We're xenophobic. Sorry, folks, but we are. The only thing that keeps us from being racist are social norms. But we're a racist species, a xenophobic species. We otherize. We are opportunistic, moody, impulsive, fickle, easily influenced by groups. This is why there's civilization, and this is why there are agreements among people. Let's not do that. Let's do this. And we'll all get along. We'll all survive and thrive. Same thing with a couple. Expect the worst, plan for the best, but you're going to put in guardrails to keep us from doing what is natural. And what is natural is to attack, run, freeze, faint, do all sorts of things in our own interests because we're threat animals. So therefore, you and I have to think ahead and build in for the next time what we're going to do to keep each other safe and secure, and to keep us from going off a cliff next time, right? Because we'll do it. Two people can do this. One person can't. Two people can govern by permission, previous permission, and agreement to do so. You cannot govern anybody unless you have their agreement and their permission to do so. Otherwise, nobody will do it, right? So a lot of this is just being thoughtful, but we're lazy. I don't have any couples that I meet that ever have a shared purpose or have any shared principles of how they're going to govern each other. Everything is ad hoc. Everything is repeated. They're in loops, and they do not predict each other. They don't put things in place ahead of time, and they just keep walking into it again and again and again because they don't have an organization. They don't have a structure. They didn't build anything.
Well, and when we come back, that's what I want to talk to you about. How do we build this structure? What does that look like?
Sure.
And again, as I hear this, even though there's a part of me that feels scared for the way that we're hardwired in that awareness, and I know that it's true, right? I know that it's scared.
Don't be scared. Don't beat yourselves up. I mean, look around you. This is people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess scared isn't the right term, but it's like, wow, there's a bit of that you go, this is, for me, it's like overwhelming in some ways to go, wow, that's the truth. So we have to, if once we know the truth, the great thing about that, stepping out of that overwhelm is to say, okay, there's actually something we can do about it. We don't have to succumb to that innate hardwiring.
Everybody can do this. The only people who can't, they're in prison or in a mental institution. Everybody else can do this. And even people in mental institutions can do it.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. We'll be right back with Stan Tatkin and more on how we can continue to have healthy, thriving relationships. We'll be right back.
It's hard. It's simple things. It's simple. It's just hard to do because of our nature. That's why it's a practice. It's oops, sorry. Dust yourselves off. Better luck next time. Put something in place for the next time to keep me from doing that, because I'll do it again and again because I'm automatic. So just remind me, prompt me. I will yield. I promise.
Well, and that's it, Stan. And again, back here with Stan Tatkin in this wonderful conversation that we're having, there's a part of me that wonders then, can any of this kind of behavior start to become habitual and automatic?
Yes. Just like everything else we do becomes automatic. That example I gave, we do affectionate, romantic things throughout each day. That becomes built in. You just do it. And when it's not done, you go, hey, where's my kiss? You didn't tell me how lovely I was. Tell me. When something is there in the air and suddenly is missing. Mm-hmm. So yes, all of this becomes automatic, just like everything else we do. But I can't do anything consciously myself because I'll forget. It's most of my day People don't realize this. About 95, maybe 99% of each day is fully automatic, reflexive. It is run subcortically through memory and recognition systems that get you to work, that get you to punch the ticket, that get you to push the right button on the elevator. All of those things. Only if you are using critical thinking are you expending energy. And how often are we doing that? Maybe for a job, maybe to figure out a tip or whatever it is we're doing. But generally speaking, we're automatic. So what are the chances I'm going to stop doing something I automatically do, like laugh when I should be being serious, or say something snarky, or roll my eyes? Slim and none. But hey, I can learn, as long as I know this is bad for the union. We've agreed, not good. I don't like you doing certain things. So I say to you, all right, Stephanie, next time I roll my eyes, prompt me, remind me, cue me. And I promise you, I will change my attitude. I will apologize. I will yield. I will cooperate. I can do that. I can do that. I just can't guarantee I won't do it again. And you say yes. Now, what does that mean? That means that when you do cue me, I must yield. I can't go, oh, come on, or you're being too sensitive, or, but this time I really meant it. If I do that, I'm acting in bad faith. And a bad faith actor now has to be considered to be unfit for a union. So it's a serious crime. If I agree to be cued or reminded, you tell me to stop at a certain point, and I agreed, I will stop, regardless of anything, I will stop. And I don't. You have a serious grievance now, because how can you trust me? I'm telling you, by not stopping, I will not be governed. Now, that's unsafe, because you and I are animals. We are depending on being able to govern each other. Otherwise, it's a dangerous landscape and it's mayhem. It cannot happen. So don't agree to anything unless you truly intend to follow through, because you will be seen as deceptive and as a bad faith actor. That's not a place you want to be in. That, to me, is a fireable offense if it continues. Again, relationships are conditional. If I can't be in the foxhole with you and you're going to turn on me, you're out. I don't care how much I love you. I cannot be with you, right? And so this is a real practical, important matter here. So therefore, we can do anything. You and I can, by agreement, we can push each other and limit each other throughout each day without complaint and get a ton of things done. A ton of things done by building in these guardrails. Simply because we both want the relationship to be as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And if you watch Tracy and I, we're constantly throughout each day, we're going, oh, hold on, okay, go, okay, don't, come, here, so do this. Yeah, we're doing this constantly, and we agree on this. And so there's no, we don't get bogged down in this. We're just constantly limiting and pushing each other, and we get a ton of things done. And we have a great time doing it, and we high five each other about how much we get done and how much we can handle and we don't fight. Now, do we do little things like, express our discontent? If Tracy tells me to do something, maybe I do this, but I'll do it. And then she'll in return go like this. And it's all in fun, because we don't have to be happy to do this. We just know we do it. It is not about pretending. We can express our anger and still love each other and still follow through on our agreements. So this is about the spirit of something. Yeah. We are a team. We get things done. We create things. You and I can do amazing things. We just have to get each other on board. That's it. Yeah. Everybody can do that. And there's examples everywhere. People who are homeless, people who are mentally ill and homeless, they're doing it. They have to have each other's backs. They're in a dangerous world. I have plenty of examples of these people. People in war-torn areas. Look at Ukraine. Do you think people are arguing about the toothbrush? Do you think they're arguing about it? No, they're too busy working together to survive and they are having each other's backs. They're comrades. Do you think they're falling in love with each other right now? You betcha. You bet, because there's nothing like working together on something that is creating something or protecting each other from something that creates a bond. A bond that is hard to break. That's not the kind of bond that gets you into bed with someone. That's the kind of bond that keeps you for life with somebody because of what you're doing and how you're working together and how you're working on a third thing. Not that you should look for enemies to focus on, but you look for third things to build, create, constantly creating the couple, constantly doing together, working together. The war can never be in the foxhole. That's dumb. So it's an attitude. It's an idea. And people have to buy into the idea first, because only then will they know how to practice this and know how to apologize when they fail, and then move forward and do something about it the next time. Know the difference between what's done and what's next. Don't go into the past. The past is terrible because memory is unreliable. You and I will fight about the past. What do you mean by that? That wasn't Tuesday. That was Wednesday. I never said that. That's another tar pit that people get into. Always moving forward, always fixing what happened by putting something in place next. That's how you do it. That's how you build.
Well, and yes. And, I know there's something too. You brought up apology, and our friend Harriet Lerner wrote the book, Why Can't I Say I'm Sorry? And this art of apology. How do we learn how to do that, Stan, so that it's effective and not one person, losing power, or one person?
So let's think about it. How did we learn to apologize? It was a human invention, right? Squirrels didn't teach us. So how do we learn? Well, let's start with our bond. I'll lose my bond with you, my attachment with you, if I don't do something. I apologize to you. That's one way of relieving you and letting you know I'm friendly and that I recognize I've done some harm to you. That's how we stayed out of wars. That's how we stay from being sued. That's how we keep family members in the family. That's how we deal with babies when we miss a tune with them. We don't say we're sorry. We work to reattune with the baby. That's how we deal with our children, hopefully. Now, there are families that are that never apologize, and you can see the result of that. That's a great deal of unfairness and injustice in the family system. Ivan Bozer-Menage wrote about that decades ago, that the sins of the parents are society's problems. That the lack of repair, the lack of acknowledgement, falling on my own sword as a way to show humility is an essential social, emotional, and pro-social conventional tool for keeping relationships intact. Don't do that, and you will suffer dire consequences that are probably irreparable down the line. If I don't fix something with you right away, I become a more dangerous person in your mind, full stop. If I don't apologize and relieve you right away, you will remember this moment because of the negativity bias to remember dangerous things, hurtful things. It will go into long-term memory, and now I'll complain about you remembering this, but I will forget that I created the memory. So if I fix things with you fast, you won't remember. I won't remember. And that's another reason to do it. But mostly, if you and I don't repair a breach in our relationship, we're going to suffer medical, physical, psychological damage that is real, that actually leads to an early death. We know this. It leads to physical and mental disease. We know this because of the neurochemicals and the hormones that are being pumped into the brain and body that are corrosive and are neurotoxic. They burn cells. Why? In the human primate world, a breach in an attachment relationship is an existential threat, meaning that I cannot breathe as well, I cannot function as well, my mind is foggy, I'm accident prone. All these things will occur because our relationship is in doubt. So Tracy and I have this rule, we can go to bed angry together, but we must touch toes, at least. And that is a mitigating factor so that the touching of our bodies signals, despite being mad at each other, we're okay. The relationship's intact. That's all we need to save ourselves from that load that we're getting of corticosteroids. Even the person who thinks that they're okay isn't. We could prove that with a urine sample and a blood analysis. So not only are we going to die earlier if we keep doing that, but the relationship becomes more threatening because we're only practicing in our minds when we're separated. The damage that was done, whether we go into a shame spiral or we stay angry, nothing is gained. It's all downside, no upside, except that we feel prideful and we feel righteous and, we have our hubris. We think our communication is right. We think our perception is accurate. We think our memory is actually real. And none of those are true. None of them. And so we have to watch out for that. That what we think is real isn't. It's all perception. And so this is about putting the relationship first, not the self. And once we do that, everyone's taken care of. Everyone's taken care of. But we have to get over ourselves, grow up, and learn to fall on our own swords. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Full stop. Not because you did this. Or let me explain why I did it. Nobody cares about explanations. Nobody has ever been hurt wants to hear the other person's intentions or motivations. Just say you're sorry, please. Okay? Everything else dilutes that. This is an important characterological thing that we learn, and that's about being a real human being, being willing to have humility and willing to fall on our own swords for the sake of a relationship. There's nothing greater, I think, nothing higher.
So this is, I hear this and it just fills my heart with so much hope for couples, because I think that the things that you're saying, Stan, truly, when you put the couple, the two people as priority, and that becomes your daily intention.
Yes.
That we can help each other heal, we can attune, we can be in the trenches together.
We can do anything.
Do anything.
You can do anything. You can become better people for sure. You can train each other in things, out of things. You can expand. You can become anything you want together. Two people can do magnificent things that one person cannot do because of the way the mind works and how resistant we are to change. If we want that thing. We got to want that thing. Otherwise, forget it. We got to want that thing. And so these things are important. I can attest that this is extremely hard to do. I am a very stubborn, I'm a pain in the ass. I'm an obsessive, compulsive person. I have a temper. I have all sorts of things that are very much in line with the animal I described. And it is hard. It is hard if I'm angry with my daughter to go out and fall on my sword. Or that a few nights ago when I was angry at Tracy, we were going to bed and she just fell asleep on me and I just wanted to murder her. And the last thing I wanted to do was anything conciliatory. But I forced myself to reach out for her hand. I gave it a squeeze. She squeezed it back and I felt immediate relief. Immediate relief. And I could sleep. And I also felt very good about myself because I did the right thing when it was the hardest to do. And that's the personal reward, is when we do the right thing, even when it's the hardest to do, we feel better about ourselves. And whenever we do what feels expedient and feels good for the moment, we feel good for the moment, but we feel shitty about ourselves. There's no way our self-esteem rises from doing what is impulsive, expedient, that evacuates our feelings. They would just feel worse.
So it's like building a muscle.
It's building a muscle. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you're building your own sense of self-esteem. You're building the couples. Yeah. And that safety. And to me, Stan, that's the hope. No matter how out of shape we are,
yes,
so to speak.
Yes, everybody can do it. It's other reinforcing and it's self-reinforcing. Other reinforcing and self-reinforcing, because we know we've raised the bar. The bar for most of us is on the ground. We're raising the bar because we want better.
Yeah. Yes. Stan, I feel like I said this last time and I'm saying it again. I could talk to you for hours. There's so much.
That's my favorite topic.
I love talking to you about all this. And as our time is up, what is the essential message that you want to leave the audience with?
I think there's only one way to go. I mean, if there was anything other than secure functioning, I'd say it. But in my research, and all anybody has to do is look around them and then read their history books, anything outside of secure functioning is either slavery or an autocracy. And those sometimes work if people are okay. And if they are, fine. But in two-person adult systems that where there's agency, freedom, autonomy, and right, and it's condition-based, secure functioning is the only thing that will allow relationships to last a long time. Relationships typically on the planet don't last very long because of our human nature. Because of our human nature, not because of personality, not because of gender or sex or culture. It's because of the nature of the human animal. If we can best that nature by looking to something better than our lot and create something together, that should be the goal. That should be what we strive for. It's a worthwhile practice, but it is a practice with lots of failure. You simply apologize and do better.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you. And for listeners, please follow Stan on Instagram. I get daily inspiration from Stan. And what is the Instagram?
All social media is Dr. Stan Tatkin so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. And people can also reach me at thepactinstitute.com. The pactinstitute.com is where we have trainings for therapists all over the world. We do that. And we do couples retreats all over the world. We're doing 2 right now. Tracy and I do those together. And we have one coming up in Spain for those of you who want to travel this year, at the end of October. It's a 5-star hotel in the south of Spain. It's a monastery, and we're going to be traveling around Spain, ending up in Madrid, and I think you'll love it.
Beautiful. I want to go. I'm going to talk to my partner tonight, see what he says.
Yeah, these are great. These are great retreats.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Stan, so much. Thank you for being here.
It's always a delight to see you.
Thanks for tuning in to The Spark with Stephanie James. Remember that you already have what you need to live a life that is fully lit and fully alive. You're already holding the flame. Now it's time to ignite your best life. Learn more at stephaniejames.world. That's stephaniejames.world. And tune in next week at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, only on transformationtalkradio.com. Shine on!